Hey guys, welcome to the live. Jean says 1 p.m. and all is well. Well, of course. Of course, all is well. Hey Santa. Hey Nicole. Hey guys. Hey Paul. Hi everyone. All right, so I'll just kind of hey Tom, hey Heather. I'll just let everyone pop on as usual. Yes, welcome one, welcome all. So we're gonna have lots of fun, of course. Tony says, I'm drawn here for a reason and I won't give up. Yes. Well, you know what? So why? That's a great point. So because it's not the easy path, right? So the easy path is basically going with mass consciousness, with what society says you should act this way, be this way, blah blah blah. Why would we do that? So it's essentially going against the grain, but what you're doing is you're following your heart. So it's hard for the ego, right? But it's not actually hard for you. It's actually very fun. That's why the creator keeps doing this. So Tom says, I prefer a challenge. Hey, Anna. Hi, Dennis. Hi, Nikki. Valnik is showing me the world. He's showing me light coming out of the world. He is trying to, I'm just connecting with him. He says, the way back home, the way to yourself through the heart. He's showing me a mountain. He's showing people hiking or climbing the mountain. And then he's trying to be funny, but hiking up the mountain and then you get to the top of the mountain and then you can see, he says the truth and underlining it. Then you can see the truth. Well, and that is because then you're seeing it from your higher levels instead of all of the filters of the ego and oh look there, and basically what is not you, right? So Christine says, I have your wallpaper. I love it. Yeah, I got it on Amazon. So it's peel and stick. So it was fun. I thought I love the color green, so I thought why not? So yeah, and today would have been a lovely day to be outside, but there's construction going on the farm. So uh so it would kind of be too loud. So anyway, so let's get to some questions. My hair's falling over here. Let's see. Valnik says we are very excited. He says the best of the best. Woo! Lisa has a good one. Lisa says killing is dense! Exclamation point. However, I've got unwelcome creatures, mice infestation, house-eating ants, poisonous toads, very rural here. Is there a way to be less uncomfortable killing them? Any other thoughts, please? Thank you. Yeah, so before we go there, let's of course bring in our entourage. Let's bring our higher levels. Why the lives are so fun is because we're bringing in us, who we are, the authentic part of us, but we're also bringing in our entourage. So that's why I say come celebrate with us. It's a big party, right? So let's bring in our entourage. Let's bring our higher levels because they're always there to assist, okay? Never to tell us what to do. That's the difference between a guide and what something with an agenda like the ego or an entity, okay? But they're there to assist. So let's bring them in and let's bring ourselves in first before we go there. So so I have a question. So do you have the power to kill anyone? Do you have the power to kill anyone? Because we're all eternal. So you actually don't kill anyone. Okay? So So sure, you can harm the body or the mind, or to do something to the body or the mind. It would always be in agreement. It's an energy game with another being. Okay, so you still cannot do it without permission. Okay, so but you do not have the power to kill anyone or anything. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then the other thing that is really interesting here is they are being seen, or you're perceiving them to be pests. Okay. And this is a very fun question, because I know people are going to be like, wow, Megan is nuts. uh Melnick says she is crazy. I know. But so the thing is, so they are part of creation, right? So they are life, right? And deep down you know that, which is why you don't want to harm them. Okay, so them being pests is a judgment. Okay, and so from a very high level, okay, so everything in creation is energy. Okay, so the root of this issue, or the root of this judgment, Lisa, is of course something within the subconscious, where you believe that the universe works against you. Okay, very common. That's what people think evil is, right? The universe is working against you. Okay, another word for evil. And it's deeply rooted within the subconscious, and then it's manifested in your reality. And therein lies where all of these pests, quote unquote, are coming in, right? So the world's life is like a beautiful garden, right? And the perception that there's a weed in the garden is actually that something could kill the garden or take the garden over, is a perception. It's a judgment from the ego, and it actually only exists. The only reason these pests are there is because you're buying into it. Okay, so uh, and the more you try to fight them, right, what happens is it's not really working, right? They keep coming. You get more of it, because when we're fighting something, we're giving energy to it. So the thing is, the mice, the ants, the toads, okay, what is wrong with them? Okay, so they are beneficial, otherwise they would not be there. Okay, so it's just and I know, so there's layers to things. Okay, this is really from a very higher perspective. Okay, so I know people in the comments are going to be like, go to Home Depot and get this and that, or blah blah blah. But this is from a very higher perspective. Why are we doing what we're doing? What's going on here? So it's a judgment. It's actually your judgment. Okay, so if you didn't buy into it, then you wouldn't have the infestation, basically, is what I'm saying. I was told this story once by this uh Alex says I'm talking a lot. Yes. This I have something to say. So anyways, I'm losing my train of thought again. So I was told this story once. So there's a tribe in South America, and once a year the flies come into their tribe or their outdoor, wherever they live, and they don't do anything to the flies. They allow the flies to come in, and they come into their eyes, they go into the ears, the mouth, the nose, whatever, and they just stand still. And what do you think happens after a few seconds? What happens is they do whatever they came in to do, which is really clean away debris, and then they leave. Okay, so Tony is smart. She says, so does that mean no fly spray on my horses this summer? Listen, I have yet to be bucked off by a big fly. There's another name for it. There's another name for like these huge flies that come and land on the horses. But maybe my day is coming. I don't know. I'll let you guys know when it does. But my point with that story is they don't give it any energy. They understand the flow of the universe. The flies come in, they clean away the debris, and then they leave. Okay, so So yeah, and they don't have any judgment about it. They know who they are, they know what's going on. uh Another nursing story I have for you. So when I was working in the hospital, I had a patient come in. Anna says a horsefly, of course. So what else would it be? They're like gigantic flies, and you'll be riding, and then there's a fly on the horse's butt, and you think, oh my gosh, they're gonna kick at it, you know? But anyways, so when I was a nurse, there was a patient who came in with a wound, and the wound had it had maggots in it, and I was horrified. I was like, oh my gosh, you know. And the resident, I remember we had this whole conversation because he's like, Megan, like, just relax, just let. He's like, I don't want you to clean the maggots out of the wound, just leave the maggots. He's like, they're eating away the dead flesh. I remember I was like flabbergasted because the patient's like, I have bugs and I can feel them, and I'm like, I don't know what do I do here? Hey Melinda, hey Dolphin. So they clean away the dead tissue. That's what the maggots are for. So they are serving creation. So everything is serving you, though. So the perception that the universe works against you, or quote unquote evil, okay, is actually something that humanity has bought into because we don't know who we are. Okay, so like I said, I don't remember what I said. Bahama Mama says no doctor would say leave the maggots. Bet. Okay, find out, because it's happened to me, man. Uh, of course, they clean away the debris, so they're actually cleaning out the wound. They are literally debriding the wound. So that's what maggots do. That's why they're there. So let me see what else is going on. Let's see. Jean says, how can one pull up subconscious shadows in order to clear them up? My assumption is sub means unseen or pushed so far down. I know triggers can help, but triggers come from outside mostly. Thank you. So it is, so the triggers are in the subconscious, okay? It's what it is everything's coming up and out. So that's why I say pull our higher levels in, right? When we do this in group Q&As or on Patreon or whatever. So bring your energy in and put the ego outside of you, because that's where it belongs. But so many perceive themselves to be the ego or to be the trigger, and they bring it inside of themselves. So it's just one layer after the next, and it's coming up. So ideally, yes, it would be nice to just have one huge ego death, and then we go about our merry way, right? So, but the thing is, so you're releasing the darkness, Oh no, I was talking to myself for like probably 10 minutes. um Heather says, get some chickens. They're vicious for real. I have no problem with insects or mice in my barn. That's the other thing that I was going to say. You can get a cat, like I have a cat, an indoor and outdoor cat, and then chickens also eat bugs as well. So it's just a circle of life, you know? So, yeah. Anyway, so I forgot, Julie says back now. Yes, I came back. So I didn't know where I left off, but basically, so what we're doing is we're bringing the subconscious up, okay, and putting it outside of us. So it truly is outside of you, okay? That's why I repeat it. But what happens is humanity buys into the ego and brings it inside of you, and you're buying into that it is you and identifying with it. So it's just one layer after the next, one perception after the other, okay? Dissolving the ego and bringing in you, your energy, the authentic part of yourself, okay? And the reason, so you're releasing the darkness, okay, and bringing in your light. When you bring in your light, actually what happens to the darkness is it dissolves, right? So uh Valnick says this is humanity. He's showing me planet Earth, and he's showing me people on planet Earth, and he's showing me the light streaming into everybody's bodies. He says we cannot do it for you. You have to do it yourself. And then he's showing me the quote unquote higher beings, but they're not really higher. They're just holding out their hands. He says we are here to assist. We are Terran's support, the best of the best. I'm just reading his mind, okay? What he is trying to convey is we're the ones who decided to come into the physical reality with the physical body. And so therefore, we're the only ones who can bring our light into this realm. Because the aliens, okay, the extraterrestrials, the beings in the non-physical, they're not in a physicality. So they are there to assist, but because they're not in the body, they're not bringing their essence, or they're not bringing their light into this realm. They're not transcending the darkness. They're there to assist us to transcend the darkness. He says boots on the ground. He says you can do it, and he's giving a thumbs up. So, yes. So anyways, the Hatchet Boys, hey. So anyways, yep, that's what we're doing. That's what we're here to do. So the thing is, so with the darkness, right? So with that being said, darkness, all it is it's not some evil force, okay? It can only be that if you create it, if you make it so, okay? Because you're the creator of the universe. And I make light of it on purpose because there are so many different perceptions that humanity has bought into, okay, that make it that way, okay? And then we start to fight, and we actually make it more real because we're giving it power. But we're all coming back to the heart. We know who we are. Thanks, Jean. Let me just refresh the page here because sometimes I miss questions as well. Yeah, I have so I live on a farm, so I actually have a lot of bugs, but I never kill them. Because I think that they're cute, actually. I've never been afraid of spiders, but I have had, like when I lived in Florida, I had my pool. We did have snakes in the pool. And multiple times. I would be swimming or I would be on my float. Okay. This happened several times. I'm just hanging out on my float. And I would look across the pool and there's a snake like swimming in the pool. Oh my gosh, that was and then they started to hide behind the pool light and started to like lay their eggs there, and then there would be baby snakes in the pool. Ah, good times. Lisa says, any comments regarding hate speech laws, UK, Germany, Australia, this dark to light topic, please? Yes, so I personally am not aware of, let me get a drink first, actually, while I tune into this. I personally am not aware of the laws, okay, over there. But do you plan, like, I have to ask you, do you plan on committing hate speech? So a lot of it, like I said, is an energy game. So maybe they pass a law that infringes, and hate speech is hard because almost anyone can say anything about you, okay? It's protected, at least in America, under freedom of speech, okay? Doesn't have to be true, but it's their freedom of speech, it's their opinion. So that's how it is in America. So, but do you plan on having like some hate speech, some hate speech party, you know? But let's go there. Let's see if they did pass a law saying that you can't do this, you have to talk this way, you have to do that way, you know, do it that way. And like started doing a lot of censorship and all of that. So let's see, because in the question, Lisa, when I tune into it, is who's coming to save us, who's coming to get us, and what is going to be done about it. And the reason all of this hoopla with the government is going on, and it's changing because humanity is they're realizing their own power, okay? But it always takes two to tango. So they would not be able to play the game unless you bought into it, okay? So again, somewhere along the way, we're buying into that someone has power over us. So mastery, true mastery, is walking the earth, not escaping to a different dimension or going, I don't know, on a vacation somewhere else. Hey, Joe, it's about bringing you here, all of you here, right now, and knowing that nothing outside of you can hurt you. And nothing and no one has any power over you because you know who you are. You are the power of the universe, okay? But so many are still playing the game. But what would happen is if everyone looked within, all of the power structures, the government, everything would completely dissolve. The military, everything, right? So there's this idea, oh, we're just going to go to 5D and there's going to be no money and there's going to be no government and blah, blah, blah. And that's wonderful. That can absolutely be the case, but it requires you to completely stop buying into your ego. Does that make sense? And stop buying into the power games. It's easier said than done, you know? So, but so the thing is too, so many are so afraid to to look within because they don't know if anything's going to be there. Truthfully, they don't know who they are. So and why would you be afraid of someone who doesn't know who they are? It's a lower level of consciousness. It's someone, a piece of that being, okay? A piece of consciousness really that they bought into, but it's a lower level of consciousness, and it's a complete construct of fear. It's just like hot air. The creator does not know fear. Why would you? You're eternal. Sometimes I do know fear. Admittedly, riding Ruffin, I love to laugh about it. Like I laugh about it now. Oh my God. Always getting on Ruffin and like fighting for my life. Like, why did I do that? Oh my God, it's so funny to me now. Um, uh, Valnik is joking with me. He says she is not crazy, just adventurous, and underlining it. It's sometimes it's so yeah, so that's the thing. So why are we doing what we're doing, right? So and if you are getting on a horse and fighting for your life, then why do you keep doing it, you know, and why are you fighting? So but that I kind of got off track there. La Rainbow Sparkle says, when we stop looking outside for personal confirmation, hate speech and daggers mean nothing. I have a Care Bear shirt just like that. So I have a red one and I have a pink one with that Care Bear on it. So exactly. So you're actually raising your vibration. You not that you're in a different place, okay, but you're in completely in alignment with your integrity. So anything that, you know, any fiery balls or whatever, or daggers or hate speech, what happens is it just goes right through you. So so and it's like a boomerang. So that person actually is creating it for themselves and it comes back, and that's when the ego says, woe is me. So why am I continuing to feel like I'm in hell, like I'm in prison? And so why are you doing what you're doing? You're throwing daggers, and what are you expecting to get in return? What do you think you're getting in return? You know? So, anywho. Yeah, I have many horse stories like that. And a lot of times, so you as yourself, in yourself and through yourself, are adventurous, okay? So so in most things, if you knew, so we are doing stuff to transcend the ego, right? So and if the ego knew what would happen, then of course it would keep us from doing it, right? So when we're doing something, why are we doing what we're doing? And really tuning into the higher level. So sometimes I have done stuff, okay, where I know my ego is going to be triggered, but I do it anyways because I want to find those pieces of myself. I want to wake up. I want to know who I am. Julie says, we use leeches over new skin grafts. When leeches get very fat, they fell off. Nurses pick them up and put them back in a clean solutions. Nurses put skinny leeches over grafts. Yeah, I I never had to do leeches or anything. I really didn't work with wounds a lot, but when I was a new nurse and I first started, that was a patient that I had. Francis says, well said. Let's evolve and transcend. Lynn says, finding those shadows and sending to be healed. Yeah, so if you're going to be in, so the thing is with the chat, Bahama Mama says, my doctor would clean with alcohol and stitch me up. So, yeah, so I never worked with wounds or honestly did much of that. But see, if you're, so the trolls in the chat, right? So it's an interesting thing, right? So it's people, and really it's not the authentic part. So this is not the creator, this is not source, this is not from love, okay? So throwing the fiery balls, throwing the criticisms, the judgments. So if you don't like what I say, then why would you be on my page? So and it's really as simple as that, right? And so the answer, so to that question, it's actually very simple, because the Ego, obviously the one attacking, throwing the fiery balls, right? Trying to get attention. Look at me. Look at me. I'm so tough and trying to start an argument, right? So they I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh. What it is their higher levels are bringing them to the channel, okay? And saying, look, this is not just Megan, okay, but a group of people who are looking to come back to the heart, who are wanting to take responsibility for themselves, who are wanting to answer the question, who am I and why are you here? And this is the higher levels message. This is what we have been trying to get through to you. Okay. And so we're going to orchestrate, we're going to put Megan Rose on your feed, or maybe it's someone who made a negative comment but still mentions my name. And and because it's a suggestion from the higher levels, are you ready to open your heart? Okay. So because how much fun is it to sit on someone's chat room and throw, insult them and try to bring them down? Okay, when you could create anything, you could do anything in the entire world. You can't tell me that sitting on my feed and trying to bring me down is fun. Come on now. Come on. So there, I mean, the universe is so big, and you, the person, the trolls in the chat, you have so much to offer. Why? See, this is the thing. You cannot have the light that I am, okay? And you don't need the light that I am, because you have your own. You just have to look within to get it. Okay? So and the stuff with Valnek, the fiery balls about Valnek, okay? So he is my friend. Okay? And you also have friends. You also have an entourage. You just have to look within to get it. See, there's a perception, and I've said this many times, that I have something that you don't. And some people perceive it to be extraterrestrial contact or whatever. What it actually is the love. Okay. So I am love. Okay. And that is available to you. You have your own. You just have to look within to get it. You cannot get it from me. You cannot get it from the ETs. It actually is you, in you and through you. You just have to look within to get it, and stop buying into actually that voice, what it is, this voice that says go out and try to harm others, try to hurt others, because it will lead you home. Because it hasn't, has it? Otherwise you wouldn't be here. You would be off doing something else, right? So it's Karen says, why would anyone listen to you and nitpick at what you're saying? We're doing fine without negative feedback. It's because, like I said, so they perceive me to have something that they don't. So they have to find a flaw, they have to find a judgment, they have to find a criticism, because they want power. Okay. And of course, it's sometimes people use their real names, okay, but more often than not, it's it's a anonymous name, and it's not their photo either, because people wouldn't. I mean, it's a way the ego can get power while also hiding at the same time. So they feel totally safe. No one's going to attack them because no one knows who they are, and they can just be a couch critic, So so and it's okay. So and to be honest, okay, to be totally honest, a lot of it, when I look at it, it's a lot of it is entities. Okay, so hold on, and that's a great topic, so let's get into the entity topic. No one can steal my energy. It's see, even if you buy into the perception that someone can steal your energy, they still can't. What happens is, when you buy into it, is you just get smaller, because you're trying to fit into a box. Okay, it's a prison that you create for yourself. That's the cage. Those are the cages, those are the chains. This is what humanity calls evil. Okay, but it's very important to realize this is this is what humanity is choosing. Okay, so if it's not fun being in that prison, so for the trolls in the chat, of course they are in so much pain because they're totally and completely outside of themselves, that the only way they can get energy is to get other people to buy into their games, right? So it just so it's just, I mean, it's I can't help but laugh at it, you know. So I mean, the thing is I love the trolls, okay, but we're here to have fun. We're here to be who you are. And we're not here to be distracted by someone throwing fiery balls in the chat. So, but the entities, okay? So let's talk about the entities and the disincarnates, because they are disincarnates, because entities are very real, okay? And this is really what it is. So so this is really, to be totally honest, this is, it's entities. So and this is, so people, some are so afraid to live, oh my god, Valnik is so funny. So some people are so, I need to focus on what I'm saying and not laugh at what he is saying. So some people are so afraid to live their life, okay, and oftentimes this happens in childhood, where we're so open, a child is so open and they don't have any judgment, but they start to go into fear, and an entity comes in, or the vibration of the body lowers, and they like in meditation or something, excuse me, an entity comes into the body and takes over, and that the light goes into the background, of course, and of course you have the ego and the entity driving the ship, okay, and this happens with many people. This is why we're asking the question, who am I? Okay, so because so many have taken, whether it's mass consciousness, an entity, or the ego, have taken in and taken on energy or consciousness that is not them. So in order to become who you are, we release all of that, okay? So, and entities are really, so some, you know, in scary movies, we've made them out to be much bigger than what they are, okay? So so in so in the eyes of the creator, it's like a pinprick, if it even exists at all. To be honest, to me, it's, in my eyes, it doesn't exist at all. It's a complete and total illusion, okay? But these are basically, so a perception that a being has bought into, right? So it's the ego, okay, and they buy into that, being buys into that perception, and then the greater part of them leaves the body, and what's left is just this little part of them that they gave energy to, okay, and that's what the entity is. And if you actually talk to an entity, their consciousness just goes in circles and circles and circles, okay? So it's the mind, it's from the mind, it's from the ego, and they don't really make much sense, to be honest. They're not conscious of who they are, and they are basically completely and totally stuck in their own reality. Like, have you seen that movie The Sixth Sense? So the kid is seeing the ghosts, or they're really entities that have unfinished business, and they're afraid to cross over. That's exactly what they are, and they don't see the kid, right? They're trying to find, they're actually, what they're doing is they're looking for love. They're trying to find their way home, okay? And they Valnik says, this is why I was laughing. He says, I do not want to live through Megan. I do not want to ride the horses, especially Ruffin. Oh my God, I know. Sometimes I've asked him, you know, so if you could, if who, I'm asking him, who would he like to ride? Because I know many horses. Oh my gosh, I love this horse too. Leo. Leo is, I always kid, Leo was my, or he was my apocalypse horse. So he is half Frisian, half Percheron, I think. Big, black, beautiful horse. But what is beautiful about him is his heart. So Leo, I'll have to show a picture of Leo. So Julie says Valnek is funny. See, I understand. So the trolls, I understand. So they want a friend like Valnek. Okay, so whatever name you want to call him, I totally and completely understand. Right. So and they are just looking for someone to show them the way home, right? And they that's really what all of those dear ones who have perceptively lost their way, when they make fun of me, when they do those hit pieces or the negative comments, that's they are looking for their way home. It's just that trashing me or trying to take my light away, it's not going to find their way back to themselves. Okay. So but anyways, back to the sixth sense and the entities. They don't know what's going on around them, right? They're just literally stuck in a one track mind on that experience from that lifetime. And that's what and that's what the entities are. So you just talk to them. Some of them don't, if you're trying to send them home, and if you're assisting someone in releasing an entity, because most people don't realize that they have them. Okay, that's the thing. So they've let that being come out in the front and completely take over, and then they find themselves on Megan's chat. Because Megan knows the way. I know the way home. I can assist you. I can see the entity and I'm not afraid of it. Okay, so that's the thing. There's nothing to be afraid of. So yeah, I love the horses. Connie says, can we help them go home? Yes, without attachment. So when we assist, it's through, without conditions, without limits, it's through love. Okay, there is no other form of love. If there's conditions, if there's attachments, then there's an agenda there, and that's not love. Okay, so you can, when you tune into it, so if you are assisting someone who has an entity attachment, right? So there's many that are still going with the ego. So they don't want to see it, they don't want to address it, and it's unconscious. So if you're there to assist, they may never, their higher levels may bring them to you, but if they're still going with the ego, then they won't ever, it's their choice. So what I'm trying to say is it's that being's choice to release it. Okay, so in the ego, of course, the entity working through the ego will try to fight it. Okay, so so first of all, it's their choice, and then it's just without attachment. Okay, so you just reiterate, so I am love, and you cannot have the love that I am. Okay, and you don't need the love that I am because you have your own. And I mean actually meaning it and knowing it, and it will start to dissolve. And some want to be sent home, and some want to be whatever, do whatever they want to do, and that's fine. But it really would be about, if you are like a spiritual practitioner or whatever, for the client or whoever comes to you, it's about that being welcoming in all of their consciousness, transcending the experience, and then of course the entity attachment is released. It's just part of the it's just part of the ego, truthfully. Yes. So Valnek is wearing a ghost costume, and he says boo. Connie says, oh, hey, Scott. Connie says, that is well said. Thank you, Megan. Makes sense. So Sandra says, is there UFO ETs living on Earth as inner Earth mountains, even under oceans, that are what we consider good ones? What is their purpose, or have they always been here? Are we a type of their ancestors? If so, how can they exist here when Valnek's kind cannot? So I was just asking, he says I can go first. So there's a lot of different, I'm just reading the question again because there's multiple parts to it. So like I said, the perception that someone is good, the perception is someone that someone is bad or a race is bad is a judgment from the ego. So let's use planet Earth for an example. So because see, it's the same game as the human. It's the same game. It's just we're using the extraterrestrials, but it's the same level of consciousness that we're trying to transcend here. So it doesn't matter the costume. Anyways, let me just get to it. So good, bad, that's a judgment from the ego. So essentially the question is, who should I stay away from and who should I be friends with? Okay. And when you're connecting with any being, it's without attachment, it's through the heart. The more you become clear about who you are, then you open your heart and it actually becomes way more clear who your entourage is, and your connection with them grows because you are bringing more of yourself in. Does that make sense? And if you have a friend that's an extraterrestrial, yes, they are all living. There's an aspect of them incarnated into a body, just like there's an aspect of me in a body, okay? But our higher levels you're so big you can't fit into the body. Our higher levels are always connected, okay? So it doesn't really matter about having a physical connection or what body a small aspect of them might inhabit, okay? It's not about the outside. It's just about the connection of the heart. So the connection of love. Okay? So that's the thing. And where it's a lot of, to be honest, a lot of hoopla, what race this is, what race this isn't, what planet they're from, what planet they're not from. It's just like here on Earth when we're judging people. Okay, you're from Africa, you're from Washington, D.C., you're from Canada. It's just one lifetime. It's just one experience, and it's just looking at stuff from the mind and trying to judge and put it into categories instead of connecting through the heart to who that being actually is. So like Ruffin, it's not, so most people would judge or look at him from the outside. They'd say, okay, he's 17, 3 hands, he's chestnut, he's shown to this level, he's trained in upper level dressage, these are his health issues. That's actually not about him at all. That's not connecting to the love. He's so much bigger. Ruffino. Ruffin's going to come into the session because Ruffin loves attention, by the way. So the fact that we talk about him, I talk about him a lot. He loves it. So that's actually the outside. And it's very, very, very small. You're actually not connecting to him at all. It's just judging from the ego. Just so we're aware, because we're all evolving. The same thing with Valnek, okay? So his kind, his race, what his body looks like. The body has a gender, but he does not. Okay, it's just one lifetime, it's one experience. And the extraterrestrials, what races they are, the names of it, would make sense to most people. They don't have an alphabet, okay, because they're not humans. So whatever names we give them, they're just letting us call them that, you know. It's not really like it's just we're making it up, to be honest. So or naming them, you know. So which is fine, they don't care. But it's not about categorizing people that way or judging from the outside. It's actually about tuning in from the heart. So who is that being? So I can recognize Valnek in any lifetime without any body because we have the connection of the heart. And same thing, he can the same with me. Same thing with Ruffin. So I can, this is a great story. I can the same with Ruffin. So no matter what body he's in, if he came back in a different horse body, I would know if it's Ruffin or not because we have the connection of the heart. We're old friends, okay? Just like Julie says, putting labels. Exactly. So labels, you're just it's the ego's way, the mind's way of really trying to figure stuff out. And humanity keeps trying to find their way home through the mind, okay? And it's the same thing over and over again, okay? So, for example, my dog, Bear. I've shared this story before, but Bear used to be Rex. I used to call him Rex because he used to be a King Charles Cavalier, and he was my first dog. And then he passed on, and then I got a new dog named Bear. Well, it's a new body, but it's the same being. And only there's not a soul that I know in my personal life, okay, that is like, oh my God, Rex, it's you. You're a bear now. Nobody. Because they don't, they are only judge things from the outside, and they're only connecting really not to that being at all, just the physical body. And that's why so many feel so alone, feel so empty, because that's how they learned how to connect. And that's how they learned who they are, or they bought into the idea that they are the mind and the body too, and that's how they see other people. So it's interesting. Same thing with other people that have passed on in my family. They come back, they're reincarnated. I know, I can see that being, okay, but other people in my family don't see it at all. So Robert says dog bear crossbreed. He's a golden retriever named Bear. Jorge says, would Ruffin always come back as a horse? That's a great question. So let's ask him. We can all tune into Ruffin, because Ruffin loves attention. So not in an ego way. He just loves to have a show. So we can all tune into Ruffin and ask him. So do you prefer to be in a horse body? And he'll tell us. So while we're doing that, I can ask Valnik his answer to the question. So is there UFO ETs living on Earth as inner Earth mountains, even under oceans? What do you have to say? He's showing me UFOs. He said, I've said this many times, you're military. We do not show ourselves. He says different density. He's saying we live everywhere in a different density. He says what your people call dimension. I have heard this term. He says we do not show ourselves, and he's talking about the UFO part of it too. Okay, so the answer is yes. Okay, so it's just, to be honest, trying to categorize ETs. Isn't it exhausting to some people? You know, this race is that, and that race is this, and blah, blah, blah. To me, it's just too much hoopla. Who are you? Tell me. I'd rather just tune into you. What are your intentions? You know, because there's many. So for example, so you could be, and this would really require being totally comfortable with who you are and completely evolving out of the ego. But we're gonna do it. So so for example, so some people might perceive, like, if you live whose enemies? I don't know. I don't keep up with world wars, but some people might perceive Americans to be evil. Okay? And that would not, I'm not evil. So, but I live in America. Do you understand? So that you don't really get to know anyone that way. Does that make sense? It's just completely from judgment. Heather says yes. Exactly. Yeah. Ruffin only likes Megan Rose. No, Ruffin loves everybody. Ruffin and I have a very close connection of the heart, but there's no lack in love. So there's no less than or better than. Everyone loves everyone. So and there's some beings that you have a very close connection with, of course. So, and that would be Ruffin. Yeah, Ruffin prefers to be in a horse body. Oftentimes the animal kingdom stays within the animal kingdom because it's so fun. So Ruffin has been different horses before. So Barbara says, when I was 5 or 6 one night, there was 5 little devils dancing around my head. I had covered my head to not see them. Those little pitchforks poked like needles. Yes. And so, and a lot of times, so they induce fear, right? And that's how they get in. there's a choice. So, and you can transcend anything, whether it happened, well, obviously it would have happened in the past, but there's a part of you that is still there, that is still buying into it. And that's why it's even mentioned even now today. So when you transcend something, it's just that door is closed, that chapter is shut, and we open a new one. So, so I heard people talking about the chemtrail. So hold on one second, because Barbara's question is awesome. So the thing is, so if we went back, so because this little one, okay, the 5 or 6 year old, it's the only way they can get to this little one is if she buys into it, okay? And she felt their energy, and then what happens is we go into fear, we go into the ego to try to solve it, and that's where we start to play the game, and that door opens for them to come in. Does that make sense? So that's why it's about coming back to the heart. And you can, it doesn't matter what happened to you in the past, your higher levels are, it sounds cheesy, or it sounds like it can like the how I feel about it, or the message I'm trying to convey, the words don't do it justice, okay? But really, truthfully, anything and everything that you've ever experienced, any trauma at all, you can completely and totally 150% transcend, because you are the creator of the universe. And I totally mean that. So it's yeah, and it's just about going back to that moment, okay, and having a conversation with that little 5-year-old. So we do it in the group Q&As on Patreon. So it wouldn't well, we cannot do it right here right now because there's so many people, and you and I are having a conversation through the chat, so it's not best to do it that way. But there is nothing that you have ever experienced that you cannot transcend. Why would you create an experience for yourself to trap yourself? You see how the creator works? Vanek, some people want to know about the chemtrails. He is so he's letting me go first. So there is you, the light, the love that you are, and then there is the body, and the body has a mind, of course, right? So the thing is, and the body is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tool. It is quite amazing, okay? It is always trying to make and recreate itself in your likeness and image, okay? But the less of you that's in the body, so the more that has bought into the ego, okay, then it starts to get mixed messages. So the more light you bring into the body is then responding to your energy and making itself in your likeness and image, and the body starts to become very comfortable, very open, okay? But when we're so tuned into the ego, okay, it's really what it is. Well, you are not there when you're tuned into the ego, and it creates blockages in your energy field, okay, places and spaces where you are not, and it starts to get mixed messages. And that's where other things come in. So where you are not, what comes in is other forms of consciousness, and that's how people develop cancer or diseases, okay? So, and of course there is, I say this because yes, we're getting to the chemtrail part, but so it's most of it when I tune into it, the chemtrails, yes. So obviously we do not want to be our bodies to be poisoned. That's not beneficial. That's not in the highest, okay? But there's a large part of it, the body doesn't really have an opinion, and the body can just on its own, without any supplements, excrete toxins, get rid of toxins, and it's consciousness. So it is alive. It's always working to do that. Okay, so the body doesn't have. So I'm just tuning into the bodies, okay, because the bodies really don't have the an opinion. what is actually harming the bodies more than anything, if you can look at it that way, it's actually the ideas of chemtrails that is harming the body or making the body more I'm just laughing because we're such a fun group, aren't we? Humans, I don't know, we're just so fun, like the games we play with ourselves. So because when I tune into it, it's actually the more we buy into the ego, the idea that the chemtrails can hurt us, then the body is responding to the ego instead of us, and of course the vibration of the body drops, and then more stuff comes in. So so it's actually the idea of chemtrails, or actually the fear of chemtrails, that are doing more harm than the actual chemtrails. Does that make sense? But it is totally understandable why we wouldn't want them, right? It's not in the best and highest, but we're playing a game with ourselves by constantly see, it's another thing too, and this is how unconscious it is, okay? It's another thing to, instead of looking within, where for oh well, it's the chemtrails, you know, I'm not feeling great, it's the chemtrails, my third eye isn't open, it's the chemtrails. And that's just it's honestly, it's a cop out, okay? So, and it's an excuse. So you are much bigger. And if we stopped buying into, what happens when we stop buying into stuff that has power over us, well then it ceases to exist, right? So Valnick is showing me Donald Trump. He's showing me Robert F. Kennedy. He's showing doors opening. Okay. He's using the words an opportunity, and he's showing people's bodies. Okay. He says, make Earth healthy again. um, he says things are changing. There are more surprises to come. He says the best is yet to come. He says, I love Megan's message. I have the same. Look to yourself. He's showing me actually people, okay, and their higher levels, and then he's showing me their entourage around them, okay? So, and I'm just reading his mind. Any health issue that anyone's going through, he's reminding me of a part that I forgot. He says, it is your choice to experience. He's showing me, he's asking me if I want to share. So, of course, I will share. This is something that is really close to my heart. So I am a nurse. Okay, everyone knows that by now. So I actually take care of little kids who have like genetic disorders, or who were born, people would say, look at their bodies and say that they are not perfect, right? So because they are, let me get a drink. Because they are whatever, mentally or physically disabled. There's some kids have a lot of gene mutations. They could be born as preemies, okay, cerebral palsy, that kind of thing. So people would look at their bodies and say, that's not how it's supposed to be. They are broken. There's something missing. And that is, I do not see them that way at all, okay? Because the light within me is honored enough to see the light within them, and they are perfect, and their bodies are perfect just as they are. And I know that their higher levels are choosing that body for the experience, okay, to find more about themselves, okay? So there's a perception that what Valnick was getting at is there's a perception that stuff happens outside of us, and when we experience disease, it's actually us, our higher levels, trying to get our attention, or it's us really truly going through our higher levels, wanting to go through that experience in the body. Okay, so chemtrails aside, yes, that's a part of it, but part of the issue with the chemtrails is there's the idea that there's something outside of you that is affecting your experience in a negative way, because it's not how you want it to be, or in other words, it's not how the ego wants it to be. Okay, so it's actually when you let go of judgment. Okay, imagine if you could see, if you, first of all, you knew who you were, which is wonderful, but if you actually started to see the light within everyone, then where would the evil be? There wouldn't be no there would be no evil, right? So because you would see every beautiful unique creator uh, for who they are. And that brings me to another point. So when we say this person is the same, or that person is like this person, we're still just looking at them from the outside. So someone else might perceptively have a body that looks like my body, like they're have brown eyes, brown hair, whatever. Okay, but we're just looking at things from that outside. What if you saw that beautiful creator for who they are? Because each and every being is completely and totally different. So that uh Falnick says, I understand your bodies are important. uh he is just, see, what he is trying to explain too, as part of it, is the attachment to the body. So people are trying to become enlightened by their body. So it's a religious idea. So it models religion. So if the body is perfectly healthy, then somehow I'll be whole and complete within myself. And it's actually the opposite is true. So you are not your body at all. Okay. And then once you realize that, even more light comes into the body, and then the body becomes enlightened because you are in it. So it's actually we're actually seeing it backwards. Okay. So uh uh Valnick says, we are Terran support. We are cheering you on. We love you very much. And he's putting his hand over his heart and he's bowing. So he says, until next time, and he's showing me a TV screen, and then it squiggles out and turns off. uh, he says, I have said this many times, fear is not real. He's showing me humans. And he's showing me the ego. He's showing me it's really like it's like a ball of hot air, okay, outside the mind. Okay, and then he's showing me people tuning into the ball of hot air, and it's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and then he's showing the word over it, fear. Okay, so and then he's showing me one person tuning out of it, and their heart grows bigger and bigger and bigger, like as bigger, even bigger beyond the earth. He says, this is the way home. Turn the fear off. Tune it out. You can do it. He says, the best of the best. And then he's saying, I salute you. So awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I love you guys, and we'll be back with more videos, and bye now.